to this video on translating verbal phrases. What I mean by translating verbal phrases is I will give you a sentence in words and you're going to be able to write it as an expression or equation, or I'll give you an expression or equation and you'll be able to write it in a sentence made of words. Okay, so I'm going to give you some words for some basic operations to help you with your sentence writing. So words for addition that indicate addition in a sentence. So we have the word sum, total, plus, increased by, and more than. All of these words would indicate addition in a sentence. For subtraction, we have difference between, and we have minus, decreased by, less than, and subtracted from. So in this list, I'd like you to, these last two, less than and subtracted from, let's go ahead and star these. They have an important aspect to them. We're going to come back and talk about them in just a couple minutes. All right, words that indicate multiplication. So for multiplication, we have the word times, a number times something else, the product, and the word of, and usually it's the product of, but these are three words that indicate multiplication. There's some other words that show up quite frequently that I want to make sure that you know that indicate multiplication but by a specific number. So you could have the word twice, which means you're going to multiply times 2. You could have the word double. Double also means multiply by 2. And you could have the word triple. These are the most common ones. We could keep going. Triple means multiply by 3. Okay. Words that indicate division, there's just two that are used most frequently, and that's quotient and divided by. So those are really the only words that indicate division, other than if it's by a specific number. Specific numbers we have, they might say half of something, and what that means is it's going to be divided by 2. They might say a third of something. That would be indicate divided by 3, or a fourth of something, which would be divided by 4. So kind of like these over here, it's indicating an operation by a specific number, but they come up frequently enough that I wanted you to know them. So along with our operation words, there's some phrases that give us important information. Sometimes you'll have an expression or equation that has parentheses in it, and there has to be some words in the sentence that indicate there are parentheses. Okay, so like an example, you could have something like this. I need words when I write my sentence that tell me that that set of parentheses is there. So the most common phrases we would see is times the sum of. So there's times, parenthesis, an addition of some variety. So that's kind of what we're showing right there. Or we could have times the difference of, or between. The difference of, or between. That's indicating there's some sort of subtraction going on, so that it would look something like that. So you have to have the words times the sum of, it's times a quantity, and so that's indicating that there's parentheses. Then there's words that are called, or phrases that we're going to call turnaround phrases. So usually you're going to write your expressions, equations, or your sentences in the order in which you see them. However, there's sometimes where we need to change the order as it's written based off the words in the sentence or by the numbers in the equation. So turnaround phrases occur with subtraction. Okay, because the order in which you subtract matters, the order in which you add doesn't matter as much, so it's less of an issue. So the two important phrases are subtracted from and less than. These two phrases mean the order is going to change, and you'll notice I had them up here and I had you star them earlier because I want you to be reminded that these are going to be turnaround phrases, so the order is going to change from how it's written. So let's try some of these, because really it's just about practicing and recognizing what you're seeing. All right, our first problem, the product of a number and 3. Well, product, if we look through our list, we'll see that product means multiplication. Do we know what number they're talking about? I do not. So I'm going to call the number x and 3. So the product means multiply, so standard form, the number is going to come first. 3 times x, and usually we're not going to write it like that. How you're usually going to see it is just 3x. That's the product of 3 and a number. All right, let's try our second one. The difference between a number and 10. So difference means subtraction. A number, we don't know what it is, I'm going to call it x, and 10. So the difference between, it's not a turnaround phrase, so we can just go ahead and do it in the order it's written, x minus 10. Okay, how about the quotient of a number and 5? Okay, so quotient means division. If we come back up to our list up here, so I'm going to write a fraction bar. Now when you write these, you need to write them in the order in which they come. So they say a number. We don't know what the number is. I'm going to call it x. And -5. The and is where the division is going. So the quotient of a number and -5. Right? So let's take a look at number 4. 4 subtracted from a number. Subtracted from is one of those starred turnaround phrases. So we have 4 subtracted from a number, the number is going to be x. So we're not going to write it in the order it's written of 4 minus x. It's really saying x minus 4. That's what I mean by turnaround phrases, is you're going to change their order. Okay? So for 4 to be subtracted from the number, if you write 4 minus x, it's x being subtracted from 4. So you've got to have the 4 being subtracted from what we're talking about here. All right, let's try the other side. All right, so now we have the sum of twice a number and 7. So we have a sum, which is addition, twice a number. Remember, the word twice means multiply by 2. We don't know what the number is. It's just going to be whatever letter you want. I'm just using x. So twice a number and 7. And if I want to sum them, I'm going to say 2x plus 7. You could also write 7 plus 2x, but that's not in standard form, and we like to write our equations and our expressions or equations in standard form. So this would be the preferred one. Okay, look at number 6, the product. Okay, so product is multiplication of a number and 10. So it's saying multiply some number and 10, so we'll call that 10x. Increased by, which is a plus 1. And we're going to write them in the order that they're coming. So we're going to say 10x plus 1. All right, I'd pause the video, and I want you to try these next two and see how you do. All right, well, let's see how you did. So in number 7, we say 4 less than. Less than means turnaround phrase, so the order is going to be different. A number squared. So the number, I didn't know what it was, so I called it x, and I put an exponent of 2. So I'll have x squared minus 4, because less than means minus, so that turnaround phrase. Now, we have twice a number. We've talked about twice means 2 times something. The number is x, 2x divided by 5, and you go in the order in which it's written. All right, The last two are actually equations, okay? We have one typo right there. I apologize for that, so just stick an E on twice. So the sum of twice a number and 10 is 36. The word is means equals. The sum of 2 and 2 is 4. It means equals, okay? So we have the sum, that means plus, twice a number, which is 2x, and 10 is 36. So we're saying 2x plus 10 is 36. Now we could go on and solve it, but what we're focusing on right now is writing them. Let's try number 10. So we have 3 times the difference between a number and 7 is 18. 3 times the difference. Well, remember that? We look back over here. That's one of our parenthesis phrases. That means we're going to have parentheses involved here. So it's 3 times the difference. We're going to have subtraction of some number, and 7 is 18. So we're going to go in the order it's written. 3 times, there's our parenthesis, the difference of some number and 7 is 18. All right, let's go the other way. We got a few here that I want to show you how to write it the other way. So we have 4x divided by 8 equals 3. So there's a bunch of ways we could write this. So here's the thing. There's a bunch of ways. I could write it one way and you could write it a different way, and we say the same thing. But you have to make sure what you're writing actually is saying what you think it is saying. Okay? So let's see. I must say the quotient of, because that indicates division. Four times the number and 8 is 3. The quotient of 4 times the number, so that would be the 4x, and 8 is 3. Okay. Now, on here we're going to have parenthesis words. So go back and look, and it's adding. So we're going to use times the sum of in our sentence to help us know that there's parentheses. So we have 5 times the sum of a number and 6 and then equals is 40. 5 times the sum of a number and 6 is 40. All right, 13 is a little hard. So let's take a look at this, and then I'm going to have you try 14 on your own, because they have the similar idea. If we look, there's an X on one side of the equals and an X on the other side of the equals. The same thing happens on this one. Okay, because they're the same letter, that means they're the same number. Okay, so we're only talking about one number here, but what's happening to the number is what's different on each side. So on this side, we have subtraction. This side, we have multiplication. So on the left, I'm going to say 8 less than a number. That's one of those turnaround phrases, so it's not in the same order. 8 less than a number. Okay, so that's the left. Is, now into the equal sign. Well, what's happening here? 1/2 of that same number is 1/2 of that number. That's probably about as hard as they're going to be right there. Okay, so pause the video, try number 14 on your own, see how you do. All right, so there's a couple ways we could write this. I'm going to just follow the order in which it's written right here when I write it. So we have the product of 3 and a number, or 3 times the number. And let's write that. 3 times the number. Okay, that's the left. You have an equal sign, so that's the word is. The sum of a number and 6 is what? Equal to. I'm going to go ahead and write equal to there too. Equal to, just it makes the sentence feel a little bit better. 3 times the number is equal to the sum of the number and 6. That's not the only way, but it's a way. If you want me to take a look at yours, if you wrote something different when you come to class, be sure to show it to me. Now, pause the video and try these last two on your own and see how you did. Notice they are not equations. They do not have equal signs. So you wouldn't have this happening is equal to or is this, because it's not an equation. Pause the video and give it a try. Okay, let's see how you did on these last two. So for this one, I wrote 7 less than, I used a turnaround phrase because I wrote it in a different order, 7 less than twice a number. You could have written 2 times the number minus 7, twice the number minus 7. There's just a bunch of ways you could have written it. Okay, so these are just really examples. And on our final one, we have parentheses, so I had to make sure I was indicating there was parentheses, so I wanted to use a parenthesis phrase, and they're adding, so I'm going to say times the sum of. So it's 3 parenthesis times the sum of a number and 4. All right, well, we'll see you in class and we'll do some practice.